All right. Thank you, Debbie. Thank you, everybody, for joining today. We are so excited. We know that new technology is continuously being deployed, and it's being deployed at a faster rate. And maybe you're wondering what the options are for you to use at your own organization or how you can apply them to your own work environment. So today we have Debbie Richards that you just heard, who is currently the president of Creative Interactive Ideas, and she was named as one of the most influential people in corporate learning in 2017 for e-learning. So Debbie serves as a consultant to corporations and organizations, but even more exciting, she is one of our own past presidents for the ATD Houston chapter. She currently serves as the VP of Marketing and Communications, and we also have with us our current president on the call, Mr. Eddie Turner, so we want to welcome you to our call as well. Want to let you know that a copy of this presentation will be sent to everybody after it's over, as well as it will be posted on YouTube. So with that, I would like to turn it over to Debbie to enhance our knowledge.
Thank you, Janice. Welcome, everyone, on this cold morning in Houston. I just want to let everybody know that I am doing this webinar from my house, and we have a busted wire main outside. So we're hoping that the plumber doesn't show up during the call. I've got Lenny posted so that he can look out for the plumber, and we've got the dogs barricaded in the back room. And I'm hoping to share with you in this next hour a little bit about technologies that you can use to change the way you engage your learners. And this is engaging your learners both in online webinars like we're doing here or in the classroom. One of the things that I think is challenging is that new technology is coming at us at an ever-increasing rate. And it's not just about exposing learners to new tools, but also using the best technology that we can to help them learn. With the advancements that have been made, instructors can provide students with the tools that will broaden their understanding and create a more tech-savvy learning environment. Now, this technology can encompass all different kinds of tools. So it can mean using tablets, mobile devices, online collaboration, conference tools, and so many other things. The newest technologies allow us to try things in the physical and virtual classrooms that were not possible before. So in this webinar, we're going to explore some of those technologies and how you can use them to facilitate learning, and we'll identify some methods that you can use to maximize training impact with technology. And I'll talk about technologies that work best for creating self-paced courses when you're interacting with a live audience or if you're trying to engage people throughout a blended learning program. Here is some statistics that I found from a technology guide. Now, this was back in 2016, but I still think this rate's true. And in this study, 48% of organizations that were surveyed by Brandon Hall place the exploration of learning technologies at the top of their learning and development priorities. Organizations that want to succeed will have to keep themselves abreast with technologies, and they'll also have to ensure that their employee skills are up to date and aligned with new realities. But how do you know what works best, and how have companies interacted and embraced technologies to enhance learning? And how can you connect and engage your learners wherever they are and wherever they're learning? Here are some priorities that were found as per the study. What are people investing in? They're investing in social, collaborative tools and mobile delivery. They're also investing in data analytics, content management, and virtual classrooms. So when they're investing in these technologies, they'll see a change in business KPIs. So you can see here that there are reductions in cost and turnover and increase in revenue, productivity, and engagement. So this is something that I see all the time in meetings and in classroom. Many people inhabit parallel realities. They're present in the physical world, but they're also maintaining a constant relationship and interaction with their social group and virtual lives through their mobile devices. And they're doing that in our training rooms and in our meetings, and you guys are probably, some of you guys are probably doing that right now. In many instances, I've seen classrooms where use of mobile devices during a training session have been banned. In some cases, students have been asked to leave their devices out of the classroom. I observed a class recently where the teacher asked everybody to put their mobile devices in a box when they came through the classroom door, which seemed kind of strange. But this attempt to isolate the students from their virtual lives in order to control their attention wasn't successful, as you can imagine. And people were no less distracted than they would have been if they'd had their devices. And the only time the teacher really was successful was when she played a video on the interactive whiteboard. So if restricting access to devices isn't the answer, how do we address their presence in the classroom, and how do we use these devices to engage rather than disengage our students' attention? Here's a few things that you can do to engage and enhance your activities. One is gamification. In gamification, you can use some competitive exercises to pit learners against each other or encourage them to challenge themselves in order to motivate better learning. There are just some teaching strategies that you can use to reach different audiences, and especially those who grew up with interactivity as a norm, and I'll share some of those with you here in a bit. You can have active learning exercises, such as reading, writing, discussion, or problem solving, that help to promote different types of evaluation of content and also analysis. And finally, some team-based learning, where you can use teams to enhance the quality of learning and increase that engagement. So what are some of the technologies that people use to do that? Well, one of them, here's a product by Turning Technologies, and this is an immediate response system. And what those things do is they allow immediate feedback to the instructor. They're handheld devices that permit the instructor to test the class and also provide the student with instant answers to proposed questions. You can gather employees' opinions on the fly, and you can analyze results later. And it does help the learning environment to become interactive, and employee progress can be monitored. The one thing about this as well is it can allow anonymity for students who want to ask questions without being recognized. But it isn't cheap. Right now we're using GoToWebinar, which is an online tool, and I could have used interactive polls and asked you some questions and asked surveys. I could share videos, and I could also provide information so you could do this via mobile. I chose not to do that for this particular webinar because I'm going to share some other things with you here in just a bit. Another tool that people use is Polls Anywhere. Now, Polls Anywhere can be used either in a webinar or it can be used in the classroom. And the thing I like about Polls Anywhere is it's a simple tool. You can engage your audience fairly easily, and you can get up and running very quickly. I'm going to share with you some of the things that, from a learning experience, that Polls Anywhere has presented that really sets some good standards for setting up technology. In this case, before the meeting, you're going to go in and you're going to create questions. You're going to customize how the different things look and how your audience is going to respond. You're also going to go in and do some testing to make sure everything is working great and be prepared to launch the poll at the meeting. Then at the meeting, you're going to ask your question and ask them to respond by visiting a web page or texting. And then whatever the question is, if it's a chart or something, they'll have some interaction. They'll be able to see it change as they watch the information. And then after the meeting, You can download the reports and you can analyze the information with your team. You can share that information as well. So it's a great way to, as this slide says, prepare, present, and interpret. Now, I love this information about preparing and getting ready to present a poll, and this would apply for any type of technology that you're going to use. First, as you're going through and you're creating those activities, you're going to go through and create those activities, test it, and then make a script. And so this is a good checklist, and they have a best practices checklist on their list too that I've used for other things that I've created for interactive pieces. I love this script. This is a script for introducing the actual poll. So the first thing is you tell them how things are going to work. So we're going to say, I'm going to ask you for your opinion. You're going to be able to use your phones to respond to this. Take out your cell phones and leave them on silent. You're going to send this text message. You don't have to download anything. And then you do an icebreaker activity to make sure that everybody can work correctly. Something that's important is if you've got a large group, like if you've got more than maybe 10, 15 people, it's important to have somebody who can help facilitate and watch people. And if someone's having an issue or having a challenge doing the activity, they can go over and help them. Also, if there's somebody who decides they don't want to participate, maybe you can have them partner up with somebody else who is participating, and they can work together to participate and do the activity. So plan for folks that may have issues with the technology and those who just don't want to participate, and have a backup plan on what to do if they don't. I also have a backup plan just in case the technology doesn't work. If the technology doesn't work, then, I do it the old-fashioned way. I do it with paper. I may throw up some flip charts and just ask people to participate. We're going to be hopeful that the technology does work. We've tested it, but you never know. There may be a challenge that particular day, or even 15 minutes before the class or the activity happens, technology goes down. So you've got to be prepared for all contingencies. So here's an example just to show them, and I think it's a great idea to show them on screen what they're going to do. So here's an example of what it looks like with the web voting, and then here's what it looks like with the text voting. So students can see how things are going to look and how they're going to input information. And then here's an example of how things look when they're inputting it on the web, again, and then how things look when they're inputting it with their cell phone, and a couple of different options and stuff. So I think it's real important to share with folks and show them this information as well so they can see what's going on. Okay, so far so good. We've looked at a couple of technologies. I know you guys are saying, well, that's great, but let me try something. So let's try something. So I pulled together some things that you can try if you want to try some technology during your next class, whether it's an instructor-led class or it's something that you're doing online, and just try some technology in your classroom. And the examples that I'm going to show you coming up are examples that are no cost, because sometimes you're not even sure if technology is going to be accepted in your organization or if people are going to respond favorably to them. So here's one that we'll try out. This is a tool called Answergarden. So what Answergarden is, it's a simple tool for creating short answer polls and displaying the answer as word clouds. And it's easy to use, and you can use it in the classroom. But you can also put this out in an online course if you want, or a web page or something else. So what you do is you just go out to the site and you click on, let me go ahead and go out to the website here. And so you're here on the website. and you can click on this plus sign up here in the upper right-hand corner, and you can type in a topic to brainstorm or ask a question. And then the questions are limited to either 20 or 40 characters. So you want to make sure that the questions that you use don't require a long, complex answer. And it's usually best when you're trying to use a single word. So here is the website address. It's https://answergarden.ch/622-434. So I'm going to give you guys just a second to go out and go to this site. What you'll do is you'll just go out and you'll type in an answer. I'm going to type in an answer and then hit the submit button. And then we'll have and see if somebody else types in an answer. And let me go ahead and I will type in the URL to make it easier for everybody in the question box and see if you can see it. And you can see some of the answers that are coming up here. Now with this, there are some options, and I'm using the free version, so of course I've got this wonderful ad down here at the bottom. But you can export this if you want to once you're done. You can download the image as a PNG file. You can go ahead and you can there are some different options that you can do from an admin site option. You can go in and hide the answers, and you can edit the topics, and you can change that answer length to 40 characters if you want to. But it's just a way for you to go in and just do something quick and easy where you can just ask a question and ask folks to respond. And I've used this in the classroom. I've used this in a meeting where I just want some folks to respond to something, create a quick word cloud, and then I can go in and use this for something else if I want to record it. Like I said, capture it as a screen capture. Some of those different things that you can go in and utilize. So I'm going to check and see if there's any other questions before I go on here. So this is one of those quick and easy things that you can use. Now, another way that you can use this technology is there's another tool that I'll share with you. Let me get back over here. And this tool is a great tool for doing some crowdsourcing and brainstorming of ideas. So it's a tool called Cider. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but that's how I pronounce it. And it's a way for people to share and respond to each other's ideas. And it gives you, you can collect some ideas and get some information before you actually teach a topic and find out what they know about it, and then share your input from what they didn't know. And then they can, so there's some questions and answers that you can set up, and again, it's one of those tools that's fairly inexpensive that you can use and you can set up. So you can type in a question, and then they can go in and they can add ideas and information for it. And I'm going to just share that with you. I'm going to show you how that works, and then if you want, you can go back and you can play with this later on. So if I have this information here about how we would use technology in training, I can add an idea. And with this one, what's cool is you can add a little bit more information, and you can also add an image. And then once I want to be able, if I want to edit it, I can log in and set some stuff up. But here's this information. And then if people want to vote on it, or they want to add an argument, they can add to that as well. And so there's some discussion and some things that you can do with that as well. So that's kind of an interesting way to do it. And again, you can go in and you can fine-tune this question, and you can invite folks to participate, and they can participate via social media, or you can have them do that in the classroom as well. So it's kind of a cool way to go out there and use that. And we're not going to go in and engage with this one. I just wanted to share this with you because it's kind of an interesting one. And I've used this actually before I have a training class, just to get some feedback and to understand what students want or understand about a topic that I'm teaching. So I'm going to stop just for a second. I'm going to see if there are any questions or comments about the stuff that I've shared so far before I go on. Is there anybody who has a question or a comment that they'd like to make before I go on and show you the next interesting tool? If you would like, go ahead and raise your hand, and I will unmute you so that you can either make a comment or ask a question. And I'll give you guys just a moment. And it looks like Veronica has a question. Go ahead, Veronica.
Oh, no, sorry. I think I accidentally raised my hand.
Okay. No problem. All right. So I'll go ahead and go on, and I'll share the next tool that I'm going to show you with it. Again, these are just some things that you can use to test drive that are no cost to you, that you can try and test drive and see whether or not technology would work for you and enhance what you're doing. So here's the next tool that I like, and this tool is called Today's Meet. And I think one of the things that's kind of interesting is to allow people to engage within a conversation. Now, here we have the chat that we can use, but if you're doing a blended learning, or if you're doing a classroom session and you want to have some sort of engagement that's going on, this is one way that you can do that. And you can set up a back channel where people can communicate, and they can be talking, and they can be engaging with their smartphone or with their tablet or whatever they're using. And what this is a simple chat room that you create for your students to join. And once they're in there, they're able to communicate with you, and they can text with each other during the lesson. And this makes you part of that discourse, and you can use the back channel also to share links to digital resources or get responses, and just have, some interaction with them. And then you can capture and share what everybody's saying while they're listening to you, and it also lets them collaborate and share with each other what they know about the topic, and to add links as well. Because I don't know, sometimes I'll be in a training session and somebody has a really good resource they want to share, and if I'm in the classroom, I write it up on a placeholder sticky note or something. But this way, people can get it, they can interact with it, and they can set it up, and they can also type in questions while they're thinking about them, while they're waiting for you at the end. And I just love it, especially for the ability to hand out URLs. So let me go ahead and share that with you, so you can see how that works as well. So I've set up this Today's Meet for us, and here's the link. Whoops, let me go back. Sorry. And I'm going to put that in our in one of the answer boxes in the chat as well, so you guys can get to it. And hopefully everybody can see that. I'll go ahead and go out to the site here. It's https://todaysmeet.com/ATD Houston webinar. And what you can do is you can just go in and you can log in, and you can give a nickname. Like I'm going to make my name George, and I'll join, and I'll add a message. And you can go in and add, and now you can see people are adding some information to this, and they're using it. So now we're going in and we've got people that are participating, and they're utilizing this tool rather than maybe looking at Facebook or whatever else they might be doing instead of participating in the session. And again, this is a free tool that you can use. All you got to do is just set up the URL and just go. And then once the session is done, you could go in and you can take that and save that and use that later on. But it's a simple tool. People can go in, they can log in, they're able to use it, interact with it, and Ann says that this might be a good use for conference sessions, and I think that, yeah, I think this might be a good way to do that too. So, you know, I'd encourage you to try some of these out. You know, maybe try it out at your next group meeting. If you don't want to try it in the classroom, and test it there, pilot it with a few folks, see what you think of it. But again, it's a way to engage folks and get them interested in what's going on and utilizing the technology that we have available. And the tools that I've shown you so far are at no cost. I have tried this on mobile devices, you know, and this particular tool works okay there as well. And with this one, you can go in and you can connect your Google account. You can change you can go in and change some things that you're doing with it. And you can go in and you can change and set up separate rooms. So if this is the room that I have right now, what I like about this is you could go and set this up for just like 1 hour right before you're going to a class, and then not let anybody go into it anymore. Or you can specify who can log in, like only certain people, you know, and then you can go back into the rooms that you have open and you can access those things again. So there's lots of really cool things that you can utilize in this. There also is a QR code that you can utilize. You can save the transcript of this. You can embed this if you want to into a blog or into a web page or into training if you want to use it for people to go in and have notes and stuff as well. And with all of these, there are some options where you can go in and set it up and moderate what's going on, you know, so that that people can you can keep people from doing different things. But again, it's just a easy way to get people engaged without having them to have to log in, download an app, and do a whole bunch of different things. So I've tried it. I've tried all of these in different occasions, and they've all worked really, really well. Okay, let me get back into my presentation mode here, and we'll go on to the next thing. So the next thing I'm going to share with you is I'm going to talk a little bit about using OMU. So OMU is a little different animal. It is a product that that you can use, but it has a paid and a free version. And it allows you to interact and engage with people with their mobile devices and project the responses in real time. a lot of times you have too many participants to give everybody the chance to share their views, and there are people who aren't brave enough to share, and with OMU you can gauge your audience and you can identify common topics, and you can also go in and drill down to detailed analytics, and that's the thing that I like about OMU. So with OMU, you can have this mobile version, and you can use it during different sessions. So here's where we used it at the training magazine conference recently, and we were able to use it for evaluations and polling and networking and different components. So here's the cost. If you guys want to test drive this, you can use it for free for up to 30 participants at a time. And OMU is a good sponsor of ATD, and they've been a sponsor of ATD Houston as well. If you decide that you really like it and you want to use it, there are other options. So there's a premium option with unlimited participants, and then there's one for businesses and one for enterprise. But you can use it in a small classroom just to try it out and try all the different for free. And we used OMU at our last ATD Houston Fall Conference. This is Bob Pike using OMU, and you can see the poll behind him and see the information that was used. He also uses OMU before training, so to give some micro-learning and to give some pre-event training to folks. So this is one of his OMU sessions where he had folks could go out and they could view some of his information, some videos and some other things, and you could go out and look at that and get some feedback and some information from that as well. So OMU has a bunch of the different things that we've talked about all combined in one. And you know, I'm a technology consultant, so I'm out there looking at technology that I can recommend to my clients. I don't work for any of these companies. I like using tools, and I like sharing those kind of things with you. And the thing I like about OMU is that you can go in and you can create all these different components and then have access to them. And then here are some of the things that you can do with OMU. So you can use it to share different knowledge by building lessons. You can have different types of ways of interacting and tracking. It does work with mobile learning, and it allows you to have a number of different types of options that you can set up. So let's go ahead and flip and go into OMU, and let's look at exactly what we can do. So here I am in the back end of OMU. So as a facilitator, I have some different courses that I can create. I can create a learning program or a course that I can use, and these can be used in a blended learning environment, or they can be used in where people just participate with an online. I'm going to just show you an example of this piece here. So this is the demo piece. So this is some of the different things that you could go in and put in. So this is for our leadership training. So they start off, they've got a workshop, a survey, they're collecting some information, they've got a Q&A thing here, a game, some discussion, some information, and then surveys that come in right after the training class, 7 days after, and 30 days after. So you can go in and you can create any of those kind of things, and then you can set those up, and while you're in here, you can go in and you can preview those and look at those to see what are those going to look like, what are my students going to see when they go in here, and then how are they going to access that. So once you've done that, then you can publish it and then share that with folks as well. If you have something that you've already done, so here's an example of something that I did back on the 14th of December, and I did a little quiz, and here's the results of that quiz. So I asked them what the OMU logo was, and the answer is it's a giraffe. You can see it up here in this upper left-hand corner. But if I wanted to look at the information in more details, that's where you've got a little bit more information. I can go in and I can edit the quiz settings and the things that I want to go in and look at. I can go in and look at who actually answered that quiz. And then I could go in and drill down to the details of it and see all of the information. So here I see that one person answered it, and then that was actually me. And here's how much time I spent in it and what I did. And I can view my answers. And then if I had a bunch of people here, I could actually go in and download a spreadsheet with that information as well. So pardon me for 1 second. I'm going to just cough. Sorry. I think that's one of the beauties of OMU, is that ability to go in and to really drill down to that level of detail. And you're not going to get that through some of these other programs, like you're going to get that from a program like OMU. And again, you have access to that when you're just looking at it. I'm right now, I'm in the free version of this program, and so I'm able to have access to that. So let's see how the interactive component of this actually works. I'm going to show you the back end first. I set this up for us for this webinar, so I can go in and I can look at this, and here's this question that I set up. Here's the question I asked, where are you working home from today? And there's all the information. If I want to preview it, I can preview the question, see what it's going to look like, and see, what it's going to go when I look at it, and then I can share it. Now, when I go to share it, I can give people a link. I can have a QR code that's set to it. I can also just go in and display this. And when I hit display, what it's going to do is it's going to give me the facilitator, some information. So here's the information I am displaying. I'm going to be displaying this, so I can adjust my background color. I can, if I had this on a separate screen, I can drag this over to the projector screen. I can make this full screen. I can do a number of different things, and then when I'm ready for everybody to participate, I can click Start Session. Now, what I want you guys to do is I want you to go to this URL, omu.com, and I want you to enter this PIN number, and I want you to click Join Session. And then go ahead and respond to the question. And as you're doing it, I should be able to see some responses. So we've got one answer so far, 2 answers. And when you're doing something like this, you want to kind of set up a time frame for when you're going to complete. Like I usually try to make it 3 minutes, maybe 4 minutes, to let people have time to get to their devices. They could be responding to this via their phone. They can be responding to it via the computer. There's any number of different ways that they're going to be able to respond to the question. So I'm going to give you guys just a few more minutes, and I'll take a drink of my tea. Go on silent for 1 second. All right, we're up to 6 responses. We're up to 7, and I know there's more of you here. We've got 17 people on the call, so I'd love to see more of you respond to the quiz as well. So we have 8 people that have responded. So a little bit over half of you have responded so far. Let's see if we can get a few more people to respond. Got 9 that responded. All right, we're going to cut this off at 3 minutes, so if you haven't responded, please go ahead and respond now. I'll give you just a minute more or two to respond, and we'll go ahead and stop. So now here's some of your answers. So we have some people that are working from home and from the beach and from the office and in different areas. So Lisa says she wishes she was working at the beach. Christine's working from home, Bonnie's working from home, Veronica's working from home, Ann's working from home. So here's everybody's answers, and I'll go ahead and close this session. And now what I can do is I can drill down and I can look at those results. So here's all of the questions, and then here's what everybody responded to. So that's a quick and easy way for you to go in and to engage the audience and ask them different questions. If I want to go in and add something else now, I can click on Add Course Content, and here are all the different types of things that I can go in and add. So you can see that I can add some micro-learning if I wanted to. I can add a link to an article. I could add a video or add some sort of file. I have a number of different activities that I can go in and add if I want to. One of them is a game, those Q&A questions, discussion questions, if I want to. And then I can also have some things that I can add from an app. So if I had gone into the OMU app, I could go in and make a recording, and then I could add that here, or an exercise, or different types of things. I can also use templates that OMU has set up, and so there are different templates that are set up for different types of things, and I can use those if I want to. So they have a template that's set up just for training evaluations, and so if I click on that, there's that evaluation, and then I could go in and I could make changes to that if I wanted to, or I could go in and just use this quiz or this evaluation as is, and then have that for my students. And once that's done, then I can go in and I can launch that at some point in my training class too. So like at the very end of this webinar, if I wanted you guys to take this evaluation, I could launch that and have you do that as well. And then I can get that information. So there's lots of really good things that you can do with this. And I've been exploring it and trying some of these things out, and I just have been real happy with what I've seen so far. I love the templates. I love being able to set up question banks that I can use over and over again as well. If you have any questions about how to use it, they've got a wonderful help center. So I like the preparation checklist, and that's one of the things, again, when you're trying to go in and set up technology, understanding, what are the steps that I need to use in order to set this up. And OMU's got this wonderful checklist that you can use. They also have best practices, and it says, go in and do a test run, and how you go in and do that step by step on how you're doing that, and then how to use OMU with your slide deck and how to add it, and then how to switch between activities and reuse your information. So they've got lots of really good stuff there. They have some good examples of things that you can try. So for example, here is a game, and it kind of shows you how the game would use and how you would go in and set that up, and step by step, and there's some really good articles about that. And then just some different ways for you to use OMU, using it for instructor-led training or virtual training or in a meeting or at a conference. And then thinking about using microlearning. If you're thinking about trying to create microlearning and you want to have a tool to test that with, OMU's got a whole different component that allows you to try and test mobile learning. And again, these are things that you can use for free as long as you stay under that 30 user threshold. You can go in and try that and test it, and it gives you that ability to play around with all of those things in a different way. So, I mean, like I said, I absolutely love this, and I'm trying to find new ways to use that and use it, and also share it with all of my my different clients as a way for them to embrace and use technology. There are other tools out there. There are a number of them that are, that are priced in different ways. But I think for us, most of us, the challenge is just getting over the fear of using technology in our training and just trying some things out. And I'm hoping that the things that I've shared with you today will give you a chance to step up and try some things, test the waters, see what you like, and then make a decision about whether or not you're going to use one of the freeware tools or you're going to invest in the technology, whether it be the interactive clickers or some type of program like OMU to enhance your technology-based learning. So I'm going to open up things now. That's pretty much all that I had, and I'm going to open it up for some questions to see if anybody has some questions or if they have some comments that they would like to make about what we've looked at so far. So if you have some questions, if you want to raise your hand, I will open up your mic. I'm going to open up the mic for Anne.
Oh, hello. I was like, wait, it says I was unmuted. I loved all the tools that you showed us, and just even beyond just training courses, I was thinking of different ways I could use it in my everyday world in marketing as well. I really love OMU. I've had them as a guest on my mobile chat, and just some great stuff that they're doing there. So thank you.
Thank you, Anne. Anyone else like to share? This is your chance to ask that question that you've been wanting to ask. Okay, I see Bonnie would like to ask a question. Bonnie, go ahead.
Again, I've seen OMU used and really appreciate your sharing that with us, because there are a lot of different tools. Of the Answergarden and Cider and Polling Anywhere, is there one of those three that you would have us check out first?
It kind of depends on your training class and what you're trying to accomplish. What type of feedback do you want to get from your students? I've used the Cider before training. So if I wanted to get some answers from some students and to get some information from them, the thing I like about Cider is the ability to ask a question and then get some information from folks and then get them to vote on things. So if I'm thinking about, I'm going to be talking about different topics and what do they have questions on the most, I allow them to go in and to interact and give me feedback that way. And I've been able to use that. I love Answergarden in the classroom when I'm just trying to get folks to just engage and to share like a single thought. You want these answers to be like one-word answers or a couple of words to build that that thought bubble. And then I've used that thought bubble later on, like if I'm doing a full day facilitation, I may come back, I may grab that thought bubble as a screen PNG, and then use that later on with them saying, okay, here's what everybody what you thought at the very beginning of class, and now later on, here's, let's go back to that, and what do you think now? So it just depends on the type of interaction that you're doing with the students as to which one of those you might use. Good question, Bonnie.
Thank you.
Sorry. Anyone else have a question? Let's go ahead and raise your hand. Okay, it looks like Dina has a question. Dina, I'm going to unmute you.
Yes, thank you. Mike, I have actually two questions. Number one is, can you give us any of your tips or tricks or experiences with how that these tools can be used in the corporate world, that especially in corporations now where they have high security firewalls and a lot of the blocks that keep these kinds of tools from being used?
Yeah, so the idea is to work closely with your IT department and see if you can get a tool whitelisted. And the best thing to do is to explain to them why you're using the tool, what you're going to be doing with it, give them the URL, maybe even set up a demo for them so that they have an understanding of what you're going to be using. And I find a lot of times people, if you ask them and you share that with them, that they'll work with you on getting that approved, rather than you just going out and being a rogue agent and trying to use it yourself.
Yeah, that's been my experience as well, so that's good. I wasn't sure if there was some more that I could be doing on that. The second question that I had was, in working in the corporate world that I worked in, there was a lot of my students would have really low bandwidth in their locations and stuff. So while I know that the tools that you have given, some of them have do not require real-time type of responses, and everything, but then some do. Have you got any tips or experiences with those?
Yeah, so some of a lot of these tools that you'll use, they can be used on mobile devices, and so they can be used like on a mobile phone. They don't have to be used on a computer, and they don't require them installing anything on their mobile device. It's basically just using their browser on their mobile phone to access. And so if the other thing is if just making sure that if there is Wi-Fi available, that you have folks utilize Wi-Fi as well. But a lot of these programs are set up for low bandwidth, so I don't think you're going to find that to be as much of a technology challenge as you think.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Because a lot of the students that I have, the company does not provide their phone. So, and then the Wi-Fi is not an acceptable utilization in those locations for discussion boards or these kinds of tools. So that's really nice to know that they don't use a lot of the what's the proper term I'm looking for here? A lot of the bytes and stuff that they use. Okay, great. Thank you.
Sure. My pleasure. All right. Anybody else have a question or a comment that they'd like to make? Okay, I've got Ann again. Ann, your hand is it still raised, or do you have another comment?
Oh, no. I put it back down. I realized it was green, and then I put it back down. But that is good to know sorry, I don't know why it keeps, it's good to know that the tools don't use a lot of data, right, if there's not Wi-Fi available, because as you and I know, a lot of times at the conferences when there is Wi-Fi, everybody's on it, and so it's it lags or it's difficult to use.
Yeah, and like I said at the very beginning, I always have my non-tech backup, and I think no matter what you do, you should always be prepared for that as well. So, as a good trainer, you've got to have your whiteboard or your other ways of engaging learners just in case the technology doesn't work. always have that in your back pocket so that you can have that available for students as well. Anyone else have a? Yes, Janice.
There was a question from Steve Cowan asking, can you embed OMU poll questions into PowerPoint?
So when you have OMU, you actually have to switch to the application. Let me get back over here to I got a lot of OMU windows open here. Let me go back over here to the best practices, and this is how they have it. You set up a placeholder slide where you go in and you introduce them to it and have them go to OMU to enter the pool, whatever they're going to use, and then you got to have OMU open in a web browser. So you've got to, you'll need to toggle back and forth between your deck and OMU in order to do that. So it doesn't actually embed it in the session. But it's fairly easy to go in and toggle back and forth between OMU and your PowerPoint. I know that when you use Polls Anywhere, you can embed that in your presentation, but not OMU.
Okay. There was one other question from Steve Cowan asking, on today's meet, how long can you keep the room open for?
In today's meet, you can go in and you can set that room for a number of, let me go back in here and show you, a number of time. So here's the options. So it's 1 hour, 2 hours, 8 hours, 1 day, 1 week, 1 month, or 1 year, which is actually pretty cool. Typically what I do is I'll keep the room open. If I'm doing it in a group meeting or in a workshop, I'll use the 1 hour and the 8 hour range. I have never tried using the other alternatives, but again, it's a way to kind of keep that chat going and to keep a way to keep a conversation going with folks. And so for me, again, it's a way to get those folks collaborating in an easy format. Any other questions, Janice?
That is all I see.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and do some work for you, Janice, and bring up our ATD website so you can close out the webinar and share some information about upcoming webinars with folks.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. I just really appreciate Debbie's sharing of this knowledge with us today. I hope everybody got something great from it. So we want you to we welcome you to our first of the year webinar, Getting Started, and we want you to notice that we have another webinar in February that's coming up. This webinar is called A Modern Strategy for the Modern Workplace. It will be presented by the Chief Learning Officer of Gravo, who is Summer Salamonson. And so we hope that you have signed up for that. We also have a webinar coming up in March and in April. So we want you to keep looking at the board and checking out our webinars and join us and participate and hopefully get some great new ideas to start off 2018 and to help you to become even better learning professionals. So if there are no further questions or anybody has any further comments, we want to thank you all for participating with us today. And don't forget that Debbie is going to post today's presentation as well as she will have it on YouTube. If nothing else, have a great rest of the day and stay warm. Thanks for joining us.
Bye, everybody.